Okay. So we're taking a look at the witness protection program and the commonality in usage of witness, where religious folks will witness, and then in modern entertainment, we also have the witness protection program. So there is an awful lot of common denominators related to modern entertainment and religion. And like, I still ask the question, if God Almighty was so powerful, why did not God not save his only son? Why did God not save his only son from the wrath of mankind? Because Jesus was the messenger who was delivering a message. And now, even in modern days, we also hear about the witness protection program and people who profess that they've had to, the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency, and they profess that they have to change their identities for the purposes of not being found out about. Now, what in the world is that about, that things are so bad? Now, and they said that literally, that people have had to change their names, their social security numbers, because um because of the fact that what they have to express to as a witness over something then puts them in jeopardy of a crime. So, okay, so we hear the thing often in systems that a crime is not supposed to go out into the court of public opinion because you have to have a jury. You're supposed to have a jury of your peers in the area of where the crime happened. However, when you put that crime out on television and you make it famous, then you also end up with people who go against the victim, which is the victim shaming. So there's another side of it as well, related to the victim and backlash against the victim, where people are saying, oh, well, you're lying. They're just going to come out of the woodworks, even though they don't know you. It's kind of like what Scott Baio talked about the other day when he was referencing Nicole Eggert, and he said that, and his wife was saying that Nicole said she was only 14 and that Scott was a lot older, and that they had some kind of inappropriate relationship. And so he said he had no idea about the relationship and what was going on and what this other woman, what Nicole was talking about. And then they came up with this paperwork. And, so I have no idea. I don't know if Scott's wife is delusional and they just printed up some paperwork and that's the kind of stuff Hollywood does. I don't know. They are a part of the problem. They're a big part of the problem because they can print up fake paperwork, or they could have their own inside type of paperwork that duplicates court paperwork, because I've been seeing that for quite some time. And I think that is in full use, where someone is duplicating fake court documents and they upload them onto the internet. Official Fall Guy, JR, hello, Official Fall Guy. I, I don't know, why are things leading to, there's something about those initials, but the Official Fall Guy. And so anyway, I'm not gonna dive too deep into that, but I why do I think that it's him? But anyway, I'm not going to go too far into that part. But I just wanted to talk about the commonality of the witness protection program. And it's like, well, is it real or is it fake? Because they say there's people who go into investigations. They've said that for police officers. They've said that for United States military, Delta Force. They put on disguises. They're the master of makeup. They go in and infiltrate into places that um, for reasons to extract information of crimes of humanity, crimes of, I think that I'm going to tell you this right now, straight up. I think the hardest one is the monetary system. I think that the Witness Protection Program and the Delta Force and the CIA and the DIA should be deep into the monetary system, so they know how it works. But it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to comprehend and understand. But it's so deep and it's so vast. This is why we have inflation. And they even need to turn it in on the government in itself, which I think that could be taking place. I do not own a Roblox. No, I don't have a Roblox. Nope, I sure don't. Well, um, why do you keep asking me if I have a Roblox? I've never had a Roblox before. I've never played it. I have played Minecraft before. Um, I've played Minecraft. I have a character that the last time I played it, I don't know, maybe the Minecraft, I'm gonna guess and say that maybe my Minecraft game, maybe it no longer exists. So either if they upgraded it or the site no longer exists, then my character is probably, hopefully my character has been liberated. Otherwise, it's just stuck hanging in limbo in the sky, because that's where I was at the last time, because I thought it was funny. So it's been like at least 5 or 6 years since I've played my Minecraft game. I think I paid $25 for it. It was an online version. And I had fun chopping at everything. But then I started realizing, my gosh, my character just gets left up in the sky. And I thought, well, so there was one last time that I remembered logging into it because things were so bad in my marriage. I thought, well, I'm probably not going to be able to play this game much anymore. And, I just really didn't feel like playing it because I was playing the game and I was recording it and I was putting it up on YouTube sometimes, or just doing a little bit, not a whole lot. And, but I just remembered that I started leaving my character up in the sky. I don't know why. I just left my character up in the sky. And, but no, I've never played Roblox before. I've heard it's very toxic there right now. That's what a lot of people are saying, that Roblox is very toxic, and that they don't want to play it anymore. So they're coming out. And another thing that I've been hearing about too is that people are telling on what's going on. Now, they're saying that entertainment, I think, always has done that. Entertainment has always told on itself when they get to have such a big monopoly and lopsided nature within their industry. They've always told on themselves. And as the women age, they do tell on themselves. And I have no reason not to believe a lot of the stories of the older women with what they told. And once they get excommunicated from Hollywood. And, I've kind of felt the same thing related to, it's sort of the networks. And isn't that with society too? Society's kind of the same way, because when kids have something they want to talk about on the internet, we've all found that on the internet right now. Roblox has 9 billions, the Earth people, it's 21 billion. I don't know what you're talking about. 921. There's 9 billion, play it, and the Earth, all people, it's 21 billion. Oh, you're saying you think there's 21 billion on the planet Earth? So you think there's 21 billion people on the planet Earth, not just 7 billion? So you guys are speculating that there's more people on the planet Earth than what they really say that we really have. If that's true, you know what? Sometimes I know Google said that they have 1.8 billion people who have Google accounts. And I'm just not going to say anything further about that. I've said things about that before, and I'm not going to rationalize it. That's for someone else to do, because I'm just not going to. I've mentioned about that before, and there's no point in me. Oh, I think what I will say is that, okay, what Google did was they made it so that we can put a lot of things under one account. So, and I think what they've said is that there's only like half a billion people on YouTube. There's like 500 million people on YouTube. So Google actually has more of a reach around the world with the Google accounts than what it has with YouTube. So Google has a much larger reach with Google accounts than it does with YouTube. And so it's really, see in the Google Roblox, how many players play Roblox. They said 9 or 8 billion people. I find that hard to believe that 9 billion people. Oh, it's saying that 9 billion people are playing Roblox. That sounds like a ridiculous, not truthful number. Um, I've never heard of that. What is 70B? I don't know what 70B is. 70 billion. You guys are keep upping the numbers all the time. Um, well, and think about this. The corporations, if you guys keep upping the numbers, the corporations are going to have to fund all these people. And so that means there's not enough money to go around. You know, the way the monetary systems are working. It's really see in the, oh, okay, I already read that. I don't need to read it again. I thought something new came up. And so, the thing like with, when I talk about, people trying to talk about things that have happened in their life, it's made really difficult. And so I know the government has this thing where they will talk about, my gosh, though, they talked about the Kennedy thing, though, my whole life. Even when the Kennedys were still alive, even when the family was still alive, they were talking about all of the Kennedys. So it just doesn't seem to be true that all that classified information is always redacted and not put out into the public, because there's always someone who leaks it out, it seems to me like. It's just that people have a hard time talking about things with their parents. Now, they can talk about it with someone else's parents. And you know what? You could have a young person who is about the same age as their own child. And you could have them talking about an almost identical same thing that happened in that older parent's life, and they're not going to get it. They're just not going to get it. They're not going to get it. They're not going to understand. So it would be kind of the same thing with, it would be the same thing with anything, that, unless you can talk to that person directly and tell them that they might be the problem with something, it's like, but is it, at the same time, is it necessary? I mean, how do you, there's just people who are not going to change. And a lot of times that comes out of stubborn men too. I mean, women seem to be more, that's my perspective, that women seem to be more willing to change because women are kept. And that's one thing that my second ex-husband, he said, "You're a kept woman." And it's like, okay, I'm kept. Well, okay, we're gonna involve the police in this keeping that's going on. Wait a minute, Google keep. So anyway, and I know my first husband always said the thing, well, it's cheaper to keep, or related to marriage and divorce. And well, yeah, because then his pay gets split in half. Well, so the court system is weaponized against the American public. That's what we have going on. The court system. So when two people are married, so the big secret in the room in the United States is, and it's not a secret, so the person that's working has to pay all the money, the one that has the most money coming in. And the court system passes the person who's making the additional above and beyond, they will pass some of that back off to people who have nothing. I mean, the court system itself, Um, I I don't know if it's a for-profit business. Some people have called it a for-profit business, but I'm not sure how the court system would be a for-profit business because they would have to generate enough wealth to actually be able to produce more jobs. And I'm thinking with inflation, it's going to be harder for the court system to actually produce additional jobs because they're not going to even keep up with inflation. I mean, because you're going to have every single police officer and every single judge. Now, why some of these judges need 200,000 a year, I don't know. If you like being a judge, you should be able to be a judge and do it for free. The Bible does it for free. The Bible witnesses for free. There's there's a the witnesses in the Bible are doing it for free. The judgments in the Bible are doing it for free. The court system should do it for free. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Shouldn't they? Um and then maybe they will have an understanding of what human trafficking is. So when you think of you got a witness, okay, there's a witness in the Bible and there's a witness inside the court system. Now you got a judge and there's a judge in the court system, a judge in the Bible, and judgments against people all the time. There is such a strong, strong commonality between all of this related to the court system, which church hates the court system. That's clear. That's absolutely clear because they want to function separate outside of the government, which I still can't figure out how they're going to pull that off because there's things that the church is actually going to need from the government at some point. But the church is always preaching this. They're anti-government. They hate the government. Now, I did watch this video yesterday that was kind of interesting about this video came up that was pre-recorded and I listened to the whole thing. And the guy was talking about, he said that the Catholic Church, it was a very big, bold discussion on the Catholic Church and how they like artificial intelligence and that they're going to try to get everything that they can get from the Catholic Church into artificial intelligence. They said right now all they have is just some pastors talking about things, and that's not what they want. They said what they want is in the Vatican in Italy. They said that's what they want, is that information that's stored in the Vatican. And the thing when I was thinking about that, I'm like, well, wait a minute. The Vatican and church is a monopoly. It's part of the monopoly. It monopolizes everything. Even on the internet, we see that. It monopolizes trends at times. So, I mean, church in and of itself, when you just say the word church, and that's going to lump around and include the whole planet Earth for what people. So, when you go to a temple to do something for some type of gathering, I don't care what you call it. When you go to the powwows up in Canada and, the Native Indians, that's church. I'm going to lump all you guys together. I am doing that. I'm lumping all you together. That's church. That's manipulation and brainwashing. So you guys can say it's all different, but it's not. You're wanting people, you're wanting to extract the human nature of what people do outside of church. You're wanting to force people to participate in something they don't want to participate in. And that's why I call church brain rot. Church is brain rot. So if church is going to keep on going around and talking all this garbage and saying that the internet is bad, and that's primarily what I hear from church people is that the internet is bad. It's not just old people who are lonely. Most old people who are lonely are on the internet and they're trying to embrace it. A big majority of old people are doing it really nicely and well too. And they're using YouTube as a therapy session to be able to vent and things like that. I've noticed that. People who are more open-minded, who have a growth mindset. But fixed mindset, oh my goodness, it is just turmoil. They turn into a toxic nut job show. That's what's going on there with that. And a lot of them are the pastors too. Now the pastors, They're losing money. They're going to be losing money. So I mean, this makes church more of a ripe environment for money laundering. So if you want to launder money through a church, heck, you're not even gonna since we have no government, pretty much everything's been gutted, you're going to be able to launder millions and millions of dollars through the church, probably billions to trillions through the church. So you're going to have churches just sitting empty. They got their lights on. There's going to might be a pastor in there by himself from time to time, maybe a secretary, and you're going to be able to launder a whole bunch of money through that church, especially if I'm trying to think, how in the world is that going to take place? Is someone's got to pay the bills? I mean, if you have no congregation, someone's got to pay the bills, the light bill. Because I've always wondered, how in the world is it that church gets its utilities for free? Church gets its light bill for free. Because some of these churches are really small, and it's like, well, how do you get your utilities and your toilet and sewage, you're hooked up to all that? How do you get it for free? Is that some deal you worked out with the local government that you get it for free? And I know at one time there was someone who had said that um, the hotels in America, they don't pay sewage and they don't pay water bills, that they get it all for free. But yet the taxpayers have to pay a utility water bill and a sewage bill. Now, why is it hotels need water free and they need, you know why? Because they wouldn't be profitable. That's why. So there's something going on that is not quite right with all these other people who get stuff for free, but yet there's all these penalties placed upon the American government. And so that's why let me pivot back to, hello, Jacob Stefan. Jacob Stefan. Is it the fall guy? Is he's the fall guy? Oh, he's an angel. Why is it I feel like, okay, a I mean AI is following me, right? AI I know follows me. Now, however, um the real person, I just can't imagine that he would actually be involved in this. That he has any idea or inkling what I'm talking about. I just can't believe that. I guess here's where I go into denial, because um, I don't think that he's been following, because AI said that he's just long forgotten about me, and um, which is what they said most attorneys do. They just forget about their clients. Oh, they even forget about their employees too, I'm sure. Yeah, they forget about their employees until they get the name of hurricanes, right? Is that how it works? I think it is. You forget about what you did to there's something had to have happened with the employee. Because that's the thing that's really weird, because the employee was there. Now there's a hurricane named after the employee. And somehow that employee, I think, fits in with all of this. I Because he was losing money because of inflation. He was losing money, and the market that he's after, okay, let me say this. I always raise the issue, and I said, what would be wrong with having a pro bono divorce lawyer so that both parties are represented free? And because the truth is that if you just let an individual, a woman who has no experience at all, or with life, and I say no experience at all, everybody has experience with life no matter what age you are. But what I'm saying, she don't have money. She's not been involved with the military or anything like that. So the military is always, I always said that the military is always learning stuff, and they are learning about the legal system. They might have a lot of hypotheticals. They might have a lot of military tribunals and hypotheticals, which I'm beginning to now think that they probably do. I think they do have a lot of hypotheticals. And so, but yet, the civilian society makes things so much harder. They're causing inflation upon the American public. That's what we have going on. And I know I'm repeating myself. I absolutely know this because it's a fact. So, housing would not be getting more expensive if it wasn't a fact that the private sector is just raising the price of housing on purpose. So how can someone say that Letitia James is lying against Donald Trump about raising the price of properties when it's a fact that we have inflation? So the private sector is causing inflation. We know that because a brand new house back in the year 1900 was $3,000. At the turn of the century of 1900, from 1800 to 1900, a brand new house was $3,000. Fast forward up to the year 2025, that's 125 years later. That ties in. So that means that now the same size house of 1,000 square feet is now $450,000. That is 14,900% increase inflation. So, I mean, and my gosh, so, I mean, maybe Alex Jones did have a valid point with some of his writings with the prison planet in the sense of inflation being a prison planet. So it does kind of, I mean, just because I didn't like the die-hard psyops that was going on with what they were doing with what Alex Jones and Trump is doing, because it's Alex Jones and Trump who are doing the psyops, but they're blaming the government for it. But media was actually using psyops on the American public. Absolutely, they are. They're using psyops. I don't see it any other way. But yet they're blaming the government for doing it. I don't know if the government is doing it or not. I have absolutely no idea. He's got a halo on his. Is that a halo? I can't tell. It looks like a halo. He's got on halo emoji. And four, isn't that for the right? Well, not that's not the right to remain silent. Fourth is illegal search and seizure of information. I'm thinking that has something to do with illegal search and seizure of information. And so okay, yes, let's talk about this. Yes, attorneys being on the internet. So basically, one attorney can stalk someone else's client. Think about that, guys. Think about that. So attorneys can, because the Supreme Court has not ruled on this, the Supreme Court plays dumb and stupid as though they're living back in the days of cave days and kings and biblical times. So you've got attorneys on the internet. They can be watching someone else's client and then use that information. So if the client is talking about something related to a case, then they can listen in on it under a pseudonym. What do you guys think about that? I know everybody disappears now. Maybe that's why I need put in the witness protection program. I mean, I'm telling the truth here. You guys know how it works. You absolutely know how it's working. It's very similar to the United States military and Delta Force when they go overseas. And then they look like a bunch of bums. And they move in with the civilian population. And they learn how to speak the language. They're speaking Arabic. And they're actually American intelligence. But they're speaking very fluent Arabic over there in the Middle East. And I get in trouble for saying that too. That was on TV though. Someone had a TV show, they were making money from that. I think that was back around 2009 or so. There was a TV show called Delta Force. It was called Delta Force. And I loved watching it. It was really interesting because they showed these guys and they were in Afghanistan and they had a bunch of mud huts. Then I always kind of made that joke. It's like, oh my gosh, they really do have mud huts over there in the Middle East and Africa still. They're not living in real houses. And so it probably is true that they used cow dung on the roof for repelling rain. Because they showed women doing that in Africa, and so she was climbing up on the house and she was using cow dung as a paste, and then it would dry. If she could have just used mud though too instead of cow dung. I don't know why she'd want to use something stinky unless the stinky repelled bugs and flies and things. But no, that would bring more flies in because flies like to put their maggots inside of cow poop. And so then you've got straw. You've got a straw house and cow poop holding it together, kind of like the Three Little Pigs. The one who the big bad wolf came and he huffed and he puffed and he blew the house down that was made of straw. Then they made another. I can't remember what the middle house was made of. It was made a little bit sturdier, bricks maybe, bricks, and then there was, or no, was that the third house? I can't remember. So the brick house was the one that the big bad wolf couldn't just blow over. But there was the straw house, then there was a middle house, and I can't remember what that was made of. Oh, cardboard maybe? Maybe it was cardboard. And the big bad wolf huffed and he puffed and he blew the house down. And then the third one was brick, and then the big bad wolf couldn't huff and puff and blow that house down. And so yeah. So they're just all full of wind. That's basically what it boils down to. They're just all full of wind. Right? Right. They're all full of wind. Every last one of them. And so just like Jesus. Okay, and that's the thing. Okay, we got to go back to Jesus. We have to include Jesus with this. So you've got church is full of crap. Jesus and God is full of crap. TV and acting is full of crap. And now the internet is, well, I mean, there's truth to that the internet can be full of crap too. I mean, that's a fact. It's not just a lie, it's a fact. That when you have a whole bunch of nefarious nincompoops and low IQ people on the internet, they don't know what the heck they're doing. And they're just telling a bunch of things. They're full of crap. And so it does. Now, I think that mixing things up, though, has become a deterrent from actually knowing or speculating on who the next president will be. Because that was the big problem that we were experiencing, was having an idea on who the next president might be, even though there's people who are still talking about it. And it's like, now I've said we have a monopoly. So we have, if you want information from the White House, it's a monopoly. You're not going to get it. So they trickle out what they want us to know. And so there's a White House press room. That was the last I knew. There was a White House press room. And the last I knew, a couple years ago, it was actually getting upgraded or something like that, or they were fixing it up. But I don't know if they were making it bigger or what. They said they felt like they might need a bigger room at one point. That was when Karine Jean-Pierre was doing her stuff, and she was just talking about the same thing. Oh my gosh, she was so annoying. She was just doing the same thing over and over and over again, repeating the same story. It's like, Joe Biden this and Joe Biden that. And it's like, that's a bunch of nonsense. It's like, nobody wants to listen to this all the time. And then the reporters were asking the same thing. There's got to be at least 30 different people inside of that room. And it's like, Okay, the White House press room is a monopoly. We see that. There's only a few people with credentials who can actually get in, so they claim they have to have credentials. They have to go to college in order to be able to get into that press room to ask the president questions. And so that excludes a whole bunch of people from actually being able to ask the president questions. So if you're supposed to be able to ask your politician questions for free, but yet you have to go to college and spend like $40,000 on acting college per year, which is legacy media. And so that's basically what legacy media is saying, that if you want to get into, you have to buy your way in to talk to the president, basically, is what it boils down to, because it's really expensive with inflation and everything. Everything's pointing to inflation. This country has been in a depression, not just a recession. Recession is losing money year over year. So this country is progressively in a recession year over year over year over year over year. Absolutely it is. We've been in a recession, and I have to say that right now, as at the speed of that people are losing money, we are in a Great Depression. I wanted to call the 2008 recession a depression, but I'm beginning to think that right now we're being hit with the second tsunami wave, and that this is the Great Depression that we're experiencing 100 years later, after the 1900s depression. I truly believe right now we are in the midst of a Great Depression because of inflation. Now, if they would have kept prices low to what they were back in the 1900s, I think things probably would have been great. So that means all of us would have been rich. If they would have kept, if the civilian sector and the private sector, with the private public partnership, would have kept the prices low and not been greedy for themselves. If a house only costs $3,000 right now, and we didn't have to deal with Wall Street, the American public would probably be doing fine. Nobody would be homeless, and people would be able to live in a nice sized house. They'd buy it up for $3,000, and they'd be able to afford to live in a nice house. But no, the bankers got greedy. Wall Street got greedy. And now they expect people who are on fixed incomes and retirement, well, they're just making us homeless. That's all they're doing. They're just making all of us homeless. So um oh oh my gosh. Maybe I'll end this video now. I am gonna turn it back on, so if there's anything of any importance that you want to use, I mean, you can use what I have said. Yeah, yes, you can remix my video. I'm not talking about that. But if you want to repeat some things similar to how I've said them, say you agree with it or it aligns with you in some way. Um, because I'm thinking, I know I'm not the only one who has been met with these negative experiences. And so people get mad when this is what they get mad at. When we tell the truth, that's why they're mad at the military. They tell the truth. They're telling the truth about what's going on with the veterans. And that's why a lot of people get mad. Well, what can you do about it? It's like, yes, thank you, veterans. You guys are so great for fighting for our country to keep war off of America. But then when it comes time to raise the issue of, okay, we've come back from war and now we're homeless, and it's like, yeah, well, there's charity organizations. These corporations are supposed to be helping you. No, the government's supposed to be helping you. But no, but at the same time, the government has to keep up with inflation at the same time as the rest of the public. We have a problem. Houston, hello, we have a problem. What is that song? Major Tom? Major Tom. Mission Control to Major Tom. We have a something going on. I can't remember what it is, but um there. I've talked about nothing for 39 minutes and 44 seconds. because my life is not important. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm not a professional. I'm an idiot on the internet. I'm never going to amount to anything. I'm living in my mom's basement. I'm living in my dad's basement. I'm living in my mom's attic. I'm living in my dad's attic. I'm a useless human being. I need to go out and I need to get a job. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm a deadbeat. And most of the things here where I'd like to go on, I can't say the words because then I'm going to get censored. Because, yeah. Well, Jezebel. I can say the word. I'm a Jezebel. I wear the letter J on my chest because I'm a Jezebel. Um, he is. Maybe you could just flick the bean and watch a movie. Flick the bean. Um, I actually don't have any movies to watch. And my screen is too small. I don't like the small screens because I can't see them very well. I need to. Maybe I should go on Amazon and see if they still have the Doge laptop tablets because they after when that thing going on with Elon Musk and Doge, they had tablets on Amazon that said Dogee. That's how they were spelled, was Doge that way. And so, um, it's like that just doesn't sound appealing to me. It really doesn't sound appealing to me at all. Flicking a bean and watching a movie, it's like I just don't really feel like watching a movie. There's no movies worth watching, actually. None whatsoever. None at all. Oh, oh my goodness. Oh. And then I can't even tell. I can't even fully tell. Seems like a better plan. Watching a movie. Yeah, I'm all for watching a movie if I could find something that I actually want to watch. Um, yeah, I'm all for that. Or maybe I'll just make another movie myself. I mean, I kind of have fun making short movies. I like making my short movies on YouTube. I have fun doing that from time to time. Um, and I'm so close. I have another channel. I'm so close to getting to that 50 mark to be able to live stream. And I never thought I'd actually get there, but I am getting there. I'm getting close because the thing that I do is, somewhat popular, and I have to take the lumps, with people um, making remarks and stuff about things. Usually it's kids. And, so then it has me questioning. It's like, well, what is wrong with the algorithm right now that it's not doing a very good job matching things up in how they should be possible? Oh, before I go, there's one last thing I've been noticing. I'm not sure which generation YouTube is on related to the software. There is a distinct software update taking place. They are rolling out some new technology. Absolutely, they are. They're rolling out some new technology. And so I think that with the original YouTube platform, which was the PC and the laptop, I think we had at least one or two generations there. Then the cell phones came out, which would be a third generation. And so I'm thinking right now maybe a fourth generation is rolling out, but I'm not sure. I don't know what YouTube would call it. what generation the YouTube platform calls itself. It's got to call itself something. I would think that it would come up with some type of generation related to the YouTube platform. It would just be kind of a fun thing, where we have the original. I don't know, maybe there was an original YouTube platform. Maybe there was an original YouTube platform before I even got on there. So there very well could have been, when they were doing it was it Stanford when they were doing it? So maybe there was an original YouTube platform before I even made my first YouTube video to upload onto YouTube. So, in that sense, I don't know why YouTube doesn't have like a generation platform or something like that. It would be sort of cool to, number them and come up with a kind of like, like we have Generation Z, the silent generation, Gen X, baby boomers, things like that. So YouTube could, for the platform and the updates,